Hi, welcome to Frisco. Obviously, you all know why you were here. For those watching on the web, we are doing our first. We'll just call it remote, externally first public-facing webcast here, which is kind of fun and awesome. We've done a few from Build and Ignite and things like that, but those are all Microsoft conferences and that type of environment. This is the first time we've actually had actual direct insiders who are not related to Microsoft in any form or fashion.
This is one
here
my,
with us, so I'm glad you signed up and glad you came.
Does it look
it's gonna
like
be fun talking to you. Are you a Microsoft employee? You got the certain, oh, you got the badge too. All right.
Badge in the house.
There is
Lots of blue badges.
Hold on, let me grab a seat.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Both audio and video. Okay, good.
By half work, so it's
Do the move right a few inches away from the camera. This is the fun part of doing these things live and remote, is trying to make sure that everything works right.
apparently I'm still sitting down.
But it's,
Well, I'm refreshing the thing, so
Jason,
I will just apologize in advance for the technical. I don't get to control the internet.
Yeah,
There we go.
let's get
All
to it.
right. All right, so let me try this again, because that was apparently working. Where's the taco hat? Hold on.
Ah, there you go.
There we go. All right. So there is going to be lag because we don't have FTL turned on. So Brandon and I have a few things we want to talk about today. Obviously, I want to ask what's on your mind, right? Because there's a lot of folks here that, I don't know. I will say this first off. I appreciate everybody that took the time out of your day to come and hang out with us. I realize this is a Saturday. There's probably other things that you could be doing with your personal time.
Absolutely not. No, I'm serious. I had nothing planned today.
So I will say for me, it means a lot that you took the time to come out and hang out and come chat with us and all this kind of fun stuff. And I will say it's nice. I'm gonna get in trouble for this one, but it's nice not sitting around a bunch of Microsoft employees for once. People that have to see in the office.
It's recorded, right?
Oh, it's being live streamed and recorded right now. So that's
good evidence.
Yeah, that one's gonna get me in trouble. So it's nice getting to see some of the people that engage with us and participate in the Insider program. That like to get this feedback and that type of stuff. And I want to find out for all of you that are here. I'm going to ask you kind of individually. Number one, why you're in the Insider program, and number two, why you showed up today. Because it's stuff like this that gives me feedback that it gets. And I mean, I'm gonna do a quick history tour real quick. It's like, originally the program was put in place because, hey, the old way of doing betas, it's like, hey, we're gonna release this, you're gonna test it out for a year, we're gonna release 2 or 3 betas over, a 2 to 4 year dev cycle. Who can't hear me?
When you're talking away, they
Oh,
can't hear you.
okay, well I'll scoot back over here. So tell me if this is better. Hopefully this is better.
We'll know in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know, right? And dropping a build and giving a year's worth of feedback and hoping that we got it right. At least doing it this way is we're dropping every 6 months. Hopefully the goal obviously is to try to release a build every week, so that people can test it out, check it out, see what's coming, and then you can get those incremental feature drops as it's happening week over week over week. Instead of, oh, by the way, we worked on something for a year, here's the next preview build. Not only was it bad for developers, it was really, in honesty, bad for us, because if there were things that we had broken between core functionality, or if we had introduced new features that weren't working properly, nobody was going to get to take a moment to actually try that for another year until a beta build was released that had either fixes, updates, more features added, whatever the case was. Now, it's on a rolling week-by-week basis pretty much that you get to check out and see what's coming. And then I know you had mentioned stuff before we went live about giving feedback and us fixing things. That's really one of the core pieces of it, is us doing that and making sure that we actually listen. Because that's been one of the conversation things that's happened before we went live is, the long-standing legacy that Microsoft seemingly has, the perception that nobody listens, right? That's something I'm going to say true or false to here on camera, right? But sometimes perceptions are there. Lettuce flickering around as I'm turning my head. have one of any number of other jobs at Microsoft, right? I could be in the future or work on. I came from CSS, right? So I was in the support arm before I jumped over to engineering. Like I'm not one of those people that's completely disconnected from talking to customers. My entire personal career, from all the companies that I've worked at, has been until right now in Microsoft engineering org, we're all in support-related organizations. So I've had, doing one-on-ones with customers and listening to what their complaints and their issues were. So to be in this type of position not only fits what I've done in the past, right? But it gives me a chance to see from a different lens of somebody calling up. What's that?
That's laggy as all get out. Literally, it's paused for 30 seconds.
It's the network here.
Okay.
So hopefully, if the stream going out to you guys is bad, the stream is bad quality.
I'm gonna reply to let them know, like, hey,
Okay.
we're.
Oh, okay. Hopefully it will get better because they are killing some of the stuff that's chewing up network bandwidth here in the store. So
You gotta shut down the
fingers
power
crossed.
grid of the mall.
Yeah. We're going to take all the internet from the entire mall.
Frisco's off the internet. That's it. It looks like Microsoft is streaming everything.
Yeah, we're hogging all the bandwidth. So anyway, I'm on this little diatribe about my own personal history, but
Yeah, but you know what? You're not the only person to get up and say that and appear to mean it as well. You know, you keep seeing people build to say, this is not your daddy's Microsoft anymore. This is really how we do things, and that's something that as consumers, I think we're all seeing where Microsoft really isn't some kind of like big giant behemoth anymore, where they just not listen to feedback. It does feel like we can physically touch it.
yeah, I'm literally sitting here in front of you right now.
We can physically get hold of people, certainly through social media and things like that, and say, hey, you know what? What you're doing here, this is a really good idea, or what you're doing here, it's a really bad. So, I don't think most people nowadays, when you hear something like YouTube, so I think there's some kind of party line, so to speak, like political statements.
I mean, it's easy to say for any company that's extremely public. A page or words on a website, a print, something you see until you actually see it in action.
Yeah.
And then it means something.
Walk the walk.
Yeah. And I will say this, even across Microsoft, we've been doing the Insider program since late 2014, so 3.5 years rolling towards 4. And even till now, there are some teams, I'm not going to call them out and all. I mean, when an organization, even within Microsoft, like even the individual organizations are huge. So when a group is used to doing something a certain way for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, you can imagine. And then I share it to another team and they kind of tweak and patch and then they finish shipping or whatnot and I'm working on the next thing, right? There's none of that direct interaction, you just take instant feedback once in a while. Having to make changes to the code base because everything that I'm doing is going to ship today, next week, next month, 6 months from now for a full retail release. There is no, well, let me stop and take 2 months to make sure I've got this perfect, right? The need to drive towards that perfection is ongoing. There's no stop to it. And there are bugs that have been in Windows 10 since Windows 10 launched. I mean, we're 3 years in. And there's still things where like, I still don't like how this cursor looks or this alignment. There's a pixel that's wrong here. Deaf is the right way to say it. Like that we're not listening. And fix those and adapt and even expand. Like I loved using Fluent because Fluent came around, it was announced at Build last year. Here we are, we just finished Build again a year later. And Fluent went from being this little concept of, oh hey, it's got cool little highlights and it's just a little bit nicer of an interface. So all the stuff they announced and released this year, I don't know if y'all saw the list comparisons of what changed. It's mind-boggling. And so the demos that they were doing there, which you can go back and see online right now. I don't know if, hopefully everybody here's got the links if you're interested in reading up on some of that stuff. All the content, all the sessions from Build are available now.
Definitely watch the keynotes.
Yeah, there's a ton of information in the keynotes. All of that's going to be lighting up. Some of it already has, some of it's yet to come, but you don't have to wait a year for it. And so back to the point that I was making about, oh, this pixel's wrong or this little thing's off. It's, as I did the webcasts over last year talking about the Windows Insider lifecycle, right? Where it was like, hey, this is engineering systems and this is how we fly, and there's the whole deployment scenario, you know, the rest of how all that worked. When it comes to the feedback side, it does split into two segments. Hey, things we're going to fix right now because it's a really nasty bug that needs to be addressed, or something that we either need to go back and re-architect or something we're going to add because it was feedback that doesn't exist yet. Things may seem like they get lost in that last little bit of loop, but it really and I'm doing it again right now, but it's that important. And for me, one of the things that's hard to digest sometimes is when you hear feedback. Facing for folks, right? Right? They're creating their own Twitter handles. They're getting out there. They're being present in Reddit, on Twitter, and whatever other channels they designate themselves. It's like shifting Titanic. It's the only way to get college. You're not going to just make a right turn and all of a sudden do something completely different. And there's the question of, hey, it's been 3 years. Does it really take 3 years for a ship to change direction? A ship this big?
The scale of it, yeah.
It's huge. It is still an ongoing work in progress. The overall culture within the company, not just as it comes to how we develop and put out features.
I hate to interrupt.
No, go for it.
But they're having some audio issues.
How long is that USB cable? If it's long enough, stick that mic on one of these.
Yeah, like
Let me
put
see.
the microphone in the middle of the.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got a USB extension, so I'm gonna drop it. Hold on.
Maybe for Boston, you wear a headset. Right with the mic.
Which cable is it? This is one of them.
I have a bag exactly like that in my car.
Did you get it at Ignite?
No, I'm talking about with all the wires and junk in it.
Oh. All right, so I will tell you right now, the audio is going to disappear, and then it should pop back.
I'm guessing that's a 360-degree mic sort of thing. So anyway, awesome.
Wait, hold on a second.
It mutes by default.
Hopefully that's better. Somebody's wearing boots on a shirt. Yes. I didn't even know that. I wanted to make sure we got the okay, so where were we? So Brandon wasn't joking when he says I get
Feedback and
yeah.
Fix bugs and stuff, yeah.
I mean,
Basically.
when a pixel out of alignment one place versus fixing.
Start menu not launching?
Yeah, but that's like
kind of a
most
big
development teams. We go, oh yeah, so you don't like this bit. Well, what about all this part here that's broken? You know, that's ugly, but that's broken.
You'd be surprised at how many insiders ping us daily about UX and UI and designs, and people care about that.
Yeah, of course they do, and it's important because
Yeah.
you know, if a UI is bad enough that it interferes with your use of the product, then it's a functionality problem as much as anything else that the UI is making things difficult.
That's exactly why I had to roll to 1703 on my desktop, because on Full Careers update, it would just not open the start menu, and nothing UWP would open. I'm like, this was
But
rock
that's
solid
a
on my laptop.
functionality problem. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
He's talking about something visual where you go,
Right. So you went back to 1703. Were you able to jump up to 1803?
I've not done it yet.
Okay.
So I'm planning on to, hopefully here soon.
Okay.
I'm on 1803 and on everything except for that. So
And is it working okay?
yeah.
See, that's I guess, I mean, now back in 1703 when we were doing the development cycle of that, and I know Brent's online, so I'm going to pick on Brent, right? But it's like that blog I wrote about the whole kernel thing, and I don't know, did anybody see that blog, or am I just like?
I don't remember.
Okay, so I will give the quick short summary. At the end of 17, so at the end of 2016, we dropped a build right before Christmas, and then Microsoft goes dark for a couple weeks because everybody wants to take vacation and all that kind of fun stuff. Come back at the beginning of January of last year, and there's a few people saying, hey, I can't update builds. Every time I go, it starts going through and it just kicks me off and I roll back to my current build.
Oh, I remember that.
It's interesting, right? It's like, oh yeah. So it's like one person's broke, okay, somebody else is broke, but I'm not hearing this big overwhelming sound of
Everybody's
people
like,
reporting in mass that stuff's broken.
Yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't mean it's not important, right? It still is.
Yeah.
It's just trying to figure out scale and scope and all that kind of fun stuff. And so, come to find out, I'm troubleshooting with these two folks, and come to find out they're running the same machine. It's just difference in RAM is the only difference, right? So we're like, okay, so what's the deal here? Why aren't more people saying this, that type of stuff? BIOS update. Holiday, and so then when it went to come out with our new builds, just putting it like it was a security thing where when the TPM would fire up to do its check, it wasn't locking the memory range of the code, and so the code was being overwritten. So when it was trying to read to say, oh hey, does this security stuff match? It had already been overwritten. They're like, oh, this doesn't match. This is insecure bits I'm trying to write, and it would puke it out and be done with it. Be like, no. And so it was functioning just like it should.
Yeah.
Except it wasn't functioning like it should on the BIOS side. Version of it, and I gave it to these two insiders, just dropped them a direct exe,
Oh, that's nice.
fixed, done,
Boom, yeah.
ready to go. And so we actually put a block in place to prevent a significant number of customers in the retail space from getting this update, because they could have potentially installed that BIOS update, which would have given them this terrible experience of bouncing off, rolling back. I can't install the update, Microsoft sucks, right? And that's one of the really frustrating things, and this isn't me, maybe it is me, pointing the finger a little bit, because not everything that breaks on a machine running Windows is related to it being a bad build of Windows.
No,
Right?
definitely not.
Don't get me wrong, we take our fair share of licks, we have our bugs, right? There's some bugs that we're trying to deal with, and when we're off camera, I'll talk to you about some other stuff. Sorry, y'all.
we'll post it to the chat room, don't worry.
Really?
I told them if I could pull more internet out of the pipes, I would. But
Yeah, that's a bummer. Sorry about the audio. The video seems to be at least moderately okay. Anyway,
It's just behind.
Lip reading.
yeah. I don't know. Like, it's crap that we get when it's not necessarily our fault, but regardless of who ends up owning a fix, It's our responsibility to drive it. And that's why we have our whole team of what are called TAMs, or technical account managers, that work directly with ISVs and OEMs and people who run third-party softwares. Like, we have literally a single, like, you can take the equivalent of Brandon, one individual person whose entire job it is to go and work with McAfee and Avast and Kaspersky and AVG and any other antivirus client you want to go and list. Like, there is somebody whose job it is to make sure that their software is compatible, working with our stuff, that Defender's either working seamlessly if they try to enable them together, or if it's just, hey, the way they interoperate, it's not going to work to have both running at the same time, that Defender doesn't get in the way of a customer making a choice to run somebody else's software.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, and it's not even just, I pick on antivirus because it's super easy, right? Because no doubt everybody here knows what antivirus software is, and it's just something it's easy to talk about. But then on top of that, you start getting into, okay, well, what about HP, right? HP has their own software that they put on their machines to make sure that their security suite's updated and their application packages working properly, and they have their own in-Windows interface that helps people update their BIOS so they don't have to either put it on a USB and boot out. All the stuff that simplifies the end user experience to make sure that they're running up-to-date secure
First thing
type
I do,
software.
uninstall.
There's a lot of people that just clean flash
but
and
you
drop
do
it
that.
out.
I'm
I'm
not
so
sure.
Titan. I just got, like I was telling you, the very first thing I did after I registered everything,
Yeah.
I backed up what came on the box just for the in case. That's the kind of guy I am, and I immediately wiped it and put my Pro on there with only what I cared about.
Okay.
You know, because I wasn't going to.
You say that, but actually the point you're making there really is that in some ways that's probably not a good thing to do, because
It
if you
depends
are
on-
working with the manufacturer with regard to BIOS updates, that's a good thing, because
Well,
I
but-
actually don't uninstall that stuff because I want their interface to say, hey, there's a new patch out
that
for
is one
Spectre
of the-
or
Even if
something
you
like
do a
that.
clean install, you could still go get that software package.
I mean, I don't have any of that other
like
stuff.
for HP's
no.
website,
I don't need your
right?
drawing
Like,
program. I don't need
it's-
this. But I do want your little management thing that says there's a new driver for your video card
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or whatever.
And
I go get all that stuff from the manufacturer and stick it on there, because there's some definitely hardware things you're going to need, regardless that Microsoft is not going to provide just because they're providing a bunch already.
Yeah, we
They
have
can't provide
out of the
everything.
box drivers that enable hardware to work, but that does not mean because they're generic drivers. So it will find them, it will enumerate them, they will technically work.
You're
But
not
the
gonna- you're not
video
gonna
quality
game
may
on
It's
not
also
be.
surprising that
basic
period of time
display
as well.
adapter.
So whenever those drivers were dealt with, that was the thing that was current at the time. But the manufacturer since then goes, hey, we can make this.
We've released 3 updates since then.
211N enable this,
Yeah.
you know, and make it double channel something or other, because we had that switched off before because we couldn't make that bit work. So their development teams caught up and made that thing drive faster. But the generic driver doesn't have that because that was a different period of time. So yeah,
There's one more point I want to really reiterate before we jump to some other stuff, right? Is a lot of the folks that actively participate in the Insider program are what I would call advanced users. And you can use that term, can be a little bit overloaded, right? But it's folks that understand, taking software in and out. They understand the concept of drivers, right? Like there's a whole series of things that you can go through and do. Up to folks that, I will say this, there are folks on Twitter that destroy me when it comes to ability to technically troubleshoot stuff. They're going out and breaking out actual memory addresses and stuff like things that I do not have a degree in CS. I don't. I did not study computer science in college. I have a degree in economics. Okay. 401k, let's talk. If you want me to go debug some memory management stuff, I'm like, I got some people in the base team that I need to talk to. It's just how it works, right? Not everybody's going to be an expert in everything. But that's where I have fun, is that I can start connecting people that are having the problems and have that level of confidence and knowledge. Or at least even the level of passion that they have, because it's something they're really engaged and really interested in, and connect them internally to the folks that do this stuff on a daily basis, that are responsible for potentially what's broke or what they want to change, right? And to be able to, for us to have that connection. Hub app, piece us together, and then all of a sudden you have all these people who are sharing their voice in, instead of it feeling like they're throwing stuff over a wall
That sounds
never
like
gets
good
addressed.
project management, good product management.
We're trying.
That's what you should be doing. Is going.
We're trying.
I'm not the guy that knows everything, because for a start, you know, that's a good thing. And I think, you know, the social networking accounts that Microsoft have started really pushing quite hard in some ways, or allowing quite hard is probably a better way of saying it. But you know, everybody has a little disclaimer. I speak for myself and not the company, except the ones that are specifically company branded accounts. It's great. You can engage with someone who works on the Windows subsystem for Linux. I can talk to that guy directly. I mean, he's a Welshman. You know, but that's good. I can actually talk to the senior program manager and say, "We've got this problem. I'm going to do this with the say Ubuntu version of the subsystem for Linux." He says, "I don't do that bit myself, but I know the guy that does," and that is what
Somebody
you
owns
ask
it
for.
somewhere.
You know,
Somebody in
now,
Microsoft
can you go and
owns
do
the
that
code.
to some other companies? No. Well, that's weird because Microsoft are a big company.
Yeah.
And even some of the small companies. I mean, you try talking to some of the transport companies, you know, like an airline or something like that. You're not going to get through to the guy who schedules your plane, you know, something like that. You're going to talk to someone who goes, "I'll do what I can." You know, that's it. It's, yeah, it's cool. I mean, we're here probably because we're fans. I don't think anybody's attacked you yet.
So, you gave me the perfect segue. Thank you. You didn't even do it on purpose, but I appreciate it.
Uh-oh.
So I mentioned at the beginning, right? All of you registered to the Insider program for some reason, right?
Yeah.
And all of you showed up here today for some reason, right? I don't want to make you uncomfortable, right? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. So if you don't want to say, right, you don't have to. This is not a requirement. But I would like to know both personally as well as professionally, right? In the scheme of things. And just start.
All right.
You're here to my lab.
So,
Why did you register the Insider program, and why did you come here today?
right. So, I like getting new features.
Okay.
So, and I'm not as savvy as some of these guys. I'm a chemical engineer. I don't really do anything with computers other than use it.
Yep.
And the reason I came here today was because I'm a fan, right? I have a Windows phone, Windows 10 on my PC, and I like what the company's doing. So the chance to interact with you guys directly, because I follow you all on Twitter and stuff, and
Right.
I always tend to come out here.
Nice.
Good job.
Start.
There's a few rough ones that have been out.
Yeah. I'm retired, and it gives me. I've been in IT since I was. Do and still do, and I miss it. So, and coming out here.
Wait, anybody wants a picture with the taco hat? You can absolutely arrange it. Robert, we've already arranged it. He's got his photo. Hopefully, he posted it on Twitter later. We'll see.
I've already got you down now.
There's many brains in the inner tubes out there now.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just kind of speak for these two fine individuals. So we're on the Azure Web Apps team.
So you're actual Microsoft employees.
We're actual
And-
Microsoft.
Okay.
Part of the Los Colinas team, and I know
Okay.
these guys.
Awesome.
So I can fill in, but I have, I don't mean to do it.
No, you're fine.
But, I have a group of accounts in LA. Some of them are gaming companies.
Okay.
And so
I mean, myself personally, I've always been a gamer. Been in IT since I was a kid. Like, dream come true to be a part of the Microsoft family in a way, because we. And supposed to go.
This is new experience. Yeah, I have like 3 weeks here with her.
Congrats once again.
Thank you. I'm new at the U.S. as well because I'm from Minnesota. And, well, I was a developer since, let's say, I have 11 at least.
Wow.
I started around at 11, so I've been really happy
Show
to
off.
join Microsoft.
I'm totally kidding.
I'm really happy to join Microsoft. I love the culture within Microsoft.
Transferred over to their team, different technology, Azure, of
Okay.
course. I joined the Insiders program because, you know, being in CSS, what do we do all day?
Talk to customers.
And we help them, right?
Yeah.
Resolve their issues, we fix problems. So it was nice to be a part of the Insider program because we actually get to discover find, I guess, the issues and report them to see if they're actually being accepted and, you know, and see when it opens up to a stable build, you know, I can say, hey, I contribute a little bit to that. So, yeah. I don't know, it's just a little way for me to give back, right? That's why I do it.
Me, I guess. Yeah, I don't work for Microsoft. I work for myself. I'm a software developer. Why am I on the Insiders program? Well, I write Windows software. So, you know, if I'm going to write Windows software, my software, it varies. Some are used by hospitals and things like that, but also I write lots of tenant software. There's about 1.5 million people working in the UK with my systems and things like that. And my customers could be running anything. Literally for Windows XP, there are people using VMs. It'll work, but exposed to some of the new stuff before it goes wild. You know, I can actually say, like that, and the thing goes blam on my programs, and I can go and say to someone, well, you know, I can you know, see what the customers can be using in 6 months' time, a year's time, or whenever. And it's good to also give some feedback as well and say, I really think this is a bad idea, or what a good idea this is. Come on, keep working on that part of it, not this part here. So that's what I do.
So before I jump to you, there's apparently a bunch of complaints about the video. So,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna yell at the mic real quick. I'm going
Has
to
he
drop
really
the
said
stream
people
real
are so
quick
stupid still?
and bring it
Yes,
back up.
there are people that see. That's the problem here with the opinion of some developers is that, oh, people are dumb to use Windows XP, but the reality is there are people out there in companies very recently. There were ATMs out there that were running, you know, Windows 2000, Windows XP, and stuff like that. That's the real world. That's the real world we have to live in. Or something like that, but I rely on people buying my programs, and that means I've got to work with what the people are using.
And you can't exclude a big piece of your market, right?
Correct, and there are plenty of people out there using Windows 7. Now, I don't want them to. I think they should all swap to Windows 10, but there are people out there using Windows 7. And unfortunately, sometimes when we remote in, you'll see they're using Windows Vista or something.
Yeah, it's like sort of thing. Whatever's the newest, I'm usually on it. So.
Okay, so you're testing all kinds of stuff other than the preview builds, betas for everything?
I'm on the Insider build on my laptop mostly.
Okay. Cool.
So why are you here today?
Free tacos.
Hey. Donna's on the chart on the chat now.
She says hi.
Hi, Donna.
Want to meet everybody and see how this stuff would, check this out. Why not?
Cool. Give us your MVP speech a third time.
I'll give you MVP speech around. My name's Harold Culture, and I'm a Microsoft MVP. I love being an MVP. Why am I an insider? It's because I've been pushing this insider on every one of my talks, even before I became an MVP. Because I think it's a good thing for people. I'm on the edge anyway. I want more people on the edge. The more people playing in this particular sandbox makes it better for everybody. And why I signed up today as well, this is part of my thing to do, right? As I'm an MVP, I want to show up. Anything I can do to help promote more knowledge of what's going on in the Microsoft universe, I'm certainly happy to do that. And let's see, that's pretty much it. I could talk for a long time if you guys let me, but I'm going to cut myself off only to say that all of you Azure web people, before you leave the store, I want to talk to you today. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to turn the camera real quick because even though it's facing this side of the room, there are more people that I want to talk to that are standing over here. So hold on a second. Where y'all going? Let's see, did I get it?
That time delay's crazy, isn't it?
All right, now I'm going to step out of the way. I'll those guys right there.
I'm here. I've always been accused of being a Microsoft fanboy. I got the Insiders program back to try it out. I started out this field 40 years ago as a COBOL programmer, DEC System 10s. My first exposure to Windows was running NT on a DEC Alpha 2100.
Okay.
So,
you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. Now, I retired at the end of last year, and like this last round with 1709 and everything coming up to 1803, I wasn't participating because I'd been out on my own, and my wife's laptop died, so I gave her my spare Surface Pro 3, and I didn't have one to use. Now that I'm retired, I dig my backup one, and I'm ready to load it up again.
Must be nice just to have a spare one hanging around.
Well, I've got 3. I mean,
Brandon's proud of you.
Well, my wife gave me the Surface RT on my 60th birthday. Oh, wow. And like I said, I'm still running the Windows Home server. I've still got my Zune 80 plugged into my iRadio. That's what I use for my music all the time. So,
if it still works,
and I would still have my Windows Phone, but my 1520 died, so now I've got the Galaxy Note, because my big mitts, I like having the stylus. But, so I just, like I said, I've always been, like I said, my old boss used to get irritated because I was such a Microsoft fanboy, and he's a big Apple person.
Okay.
But, like I said, I enjoy it, and I wanted to get back into it. Like I said, I've been away from it for a while. And then the other ultimate reason too was I get frustrated with Forza 7. I want to know how you guys can drive so well, because every time I get in there with a controller, I'm just all over the road.
You and I will definitely do some racing. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we will do some racing.
Okay. So I'm adjunct faculty over Richland College, which is one of the community colleges in Dallas. And I teach Microsoft Office not only on campus but also for corporate training, as well as I teach Windows 10 in the Emeritus program. So the Emeritus program is targeted at 50 and older, but because if you're 65 and older and a Dallas County resident, they pay for, the county does, 6 credit hours per semester.
Wow.
So I teach a Windows 10 class for them. The average age is probably around 70. So what happens is someone will show up and say, I got a computer from my grandson for Christmas. It's still in the box. What am I supposed to do with this thing, right?
So they walk into your class not really knowing anything, and hopefully walk out of your class and they're like, cool, I got this.
Yeah, so a lot of people are like, I'm afraid to touch it. You know, I mean, this is like, because the mentality of that age group is if I do something wrong, I'm going to break it.
Yeah.
So my byline to them is be brave and bold and click, and let's see what happens. So, but anyway, so I like the Insider because not only does it kind of keep me up with what's happening in Windows, but to see what's coming, and just to be there, the nerd type of.
Do you prepare content in advance for when new updates come out so you can teach them?
So there's a lot of books about kind of walk people through. So I kind of use that as a guide and as a reference for them. So I'm not teaching out of the book, but I'm just basically taking them from, okay, let's talk about what desktop means. Remember, the desktop is just like your desk. You can put stuff on your desk, so you can put icons on the desktop. Let's talk about what the mouse does. So try to relate everything to what they already know. For example, when we're talking about a keyboard, you got a Windows key, a Control key, Alt key, Shift key. How many people learned how to type on a manual typewriter? Most hands are going up.
I can actually raise my hand on that one.
Exactly. So when you hold the Shift key down, you don't hold the Shift key and press the letter at the same time. You hold the Shift key, press the key, release it, and then release the Shift key. So all of the shortcut keys are the same way. You hold the Shift key down and press and release. So you hold the Control key down, press and release. So it's just relating things to what they already know and just show them how that works in the computer.
As a quick point, it's super interesting the things that probably all of us sitting here in this group take for granted because we've been doing it for a while. It's second nature. Never even think about it, right? You're just doing your workflow and you're just and there's still folks who have never really had that experience. And like the things that I still need to learn, like I can't tell you how much I've learned about the whole deployment stack over the past 3 years. Right? It's one area that it's super obvious when something breaks, we try to push out a build and people can't install it. It's deployment stack most likely somewhere. Unless it's a BIOS. So like the amount of stuff that I've learned, and there's always somebody who's an expert at it. Because somebody designed the feature, somebody programmed the feature, somebody's responsible for it. And then I become the student that goes looking to them and be like, hey, I have to go fix this issue and talk to people about it. Educate me on what's actually broke and how I can better help diagnose this faster the next time around. So that it's not just, I don't know, it's going to take me a couple days to figure it out. I at least have some base knowledge to be like, okay, this is what the error code means. This is probably what it's going to do. Try these few things while I'm talking to somebody else trying to help resolve the issue.
See, what happens with them is that they'll have something happen. They don't know what it means. They'll call their son, they'll call their grandson. They'll come over, fix it. There you go, Grandma, gone. And they're like, what did you do? They don't want to take the time to explain it. So that's the advantage for these folks who be in a class like this, is that they can slowly ask questions, get adjusted, and learn it, and then off they go.
Giving somebody a fish versus teaching them a fish.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
I'm not an insider, but I am interested in what the insider program is doing, so I follow what's going on here. I like the tiered system of releases just as a concept, and I like following it to see what other companies can learn from it. And I like the interactions with the customers online and locally that I see with the insider program. So I try to follow what's going on as a, I guess, professional level of interest. Which is why I was here today, because it was a chance to meet people in person who worked on the program and learn firsthand what's going on in the program.
What are you doing here, Hayden?
So I actually work in this store. I'm one of the service advisors. So if something happens to your computer, bring it in and we'll fix it. We'll get it fixed up. But I've been an insider since day one. Unfortunately, my account doesn't show that because I had to switch my Microsoft account.
Neither does mine.
I was.
Interestingly enough.
And yeah, I've been bugging these guys for the past like 6 or 7 months. Like, hey, you guys should come out. You guys should come hang out at the store.
Yep.
And
that is true. You have done that. I've seen that on Twitter.
I'm glad you did, because most of the stuff always ends up down at the North Park store.
Yeah, exactly.
I live 3 miles from here, so.
It's actually funny because when we started doing these webcasts, November of 2016 was the very first one. We did one of the bug bashes, right? It was like, hey, we're just gonna get and somebody it was my old boss, brought a Connect and set it in the room, and we hooked it up, and it was completely informal. We had a Qdoba sitting on the table, and we're just like, what are we gonna do? So people would just ask us questions and stuff. And it just became this thing of, hey, it's a good chance to interact and get people some FaceTime and things like that. And then Hayden started this whole thing of like, actually when we do webcasts from Redmond, we'll put it up on the screen, people in the store can come and watch and see and everything. And it was like, y'all should do some store stuff. And it was like something Brandon and I had been kicking around, but it was like, hey, would people show up? Are people going to be interested? Because they're going to have to do it kind of like on the weekend or weekday or whatever. If we do it on the weekday, people have to like try to miss work and stuff. So it was just like, we had to work through some logistics. And then Donna had to give us the thumbs up, right? Because, she's the lady that's like, here's some money, or no, you can't have it. You know how it works.
She said, go and make it worth it. and
Yeah, but you know, Frisco, only yesterday they announced that the census lists Frisco as the #1 growing city in the US. Frisco's number one. So by a long stretch as well.
So what would be success?
Yeah, for years.
What would be success?
Success for you guys here today. Like for you guys to say, hey Don, see we told you this is
good turnout, good
number one is people showing up. I mean, that's
showing up, good stories.
Whether or not you found this interesting and worth your time.
Yes,
there's more. Just, is it a good use of time? Should we have done this? Should we keep doing stuff like this?
Yes, you should keep doing it.
And buy some stuff.
So you should get out and
buy
see
some
people.
stuff.
Because
That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, you know, I think you should do more of this kind of face-to-face. You know, the problem is otherwise you become another social media. You know, which is all well and good, but there's a lot of social media out there.
Yeah.
By coming out and actually meeting people and hearing from people who, some more vocal like me and some less vocal, at least you're actually getting real life feedback from people who animatedly say, I like this idea, I don't like this idea, and also you can gauge from the body language whether or not what they're saying is true or whether they're just kind of put up the part.
It's the premise of also, you know, there are fans out there who aren't going to have the money to go and meet us at our big events.
Yeah.
And so we're going to need like
full time.
I want to be able to go out and talk to those people and hear from those people. I mean, I used to be a fan that I didn't have money to. I couldn't go to Build, I couldn't go to Ignite, I couldn't do any of those things. So the only way I could interact at that time was through news. So like events like this actually have a special place in my heart. So I want to enable.
So for me, I'm not a developer like some of these guys. I'm just a normal user of the products, right? So I would never go to Build. Because what am I going to do? I'm not going to sit in on some workshop that talks about C++.
Hey, you get some cool t-shirts.
I can buy that from the Microsoft store. I should have worn my Windows 10 t-shirt today, but I didn't.
Well, so perfect. Donna, who's on the webcast, I don't think she's still, but I don't know. She sent me. She wanted to ask all of you guys, how do you help people with technology? Like, what are the special things that you guys do with some friends and family to help them with Windows 10 and just technology in general? Phones, like, what is?
Well, just this gentleman's quite interesting because
you do a lot, so yeah.
I also do it online. I use Team Viewer, and I can connect remote control and
That's what I do with my grandma.
So my mom's 78, and she's one of these people that she's afraid she's going to break something, and so I try and help her to connect, because with all the different tools that we have through social media and Skype and all the rest of it, it's a very much connected world, and she has 7 kids and X amount of grandkids and people spread all over the world, and so I think her life would be so much more enriched if she became more comfortable with technology. So I try and help her whenever I can, to sit her down and trying to explain to her, and it's not a big bad boogeyman, don't worry about, trying some stuff, and she's getting slowly, she's getting better, so that's one of the things I try and do.
I must have. I will commend the Windows guys in general. Mom had a Windows 8 machine that I bought her, helped her set up, that kind of stuff. I went over one day about a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever. I don't remember exactly when the time was. I went over there and I said, "Hey, Mom, it's time to upgrade you." And I went and fired up her PC, looked at it, it was already upgraded. And so I'm like, "Who did this?" Well, I don't know. It came up and pushed a button. It worked. And that's awesome.
Yes! That's
awesome.
a success story in and of itself.
And I've also done recently, because I've just moved machines, had to do a reinstall of Windows a couple of times. And the whole Cortana, the fact that I entered in my MSA, it looked up my Office 365 account with the MSA, pulled down my home key, which I didn't want it to do, but if I wasn't who I was, that'd be exactly what I wanted it to do. And already authenticated, already activated it, and away we go. I thought it was fantastic. And using my voice to say next and yes, it annoyed my coworkers, but to me, I thought it was awesome.
On that point for a minute, right? I apologize. I don't want to derail what Donna was wanting to ask questions, right? She's still watching and listening to what you're saying. Not too long ago on Twitter, I got into a discussion. So everybody on camera can see it.
That doesn't sound normal.
This is a very heavily loaded term I'm using about Cortana popping up during Ubi as to whether or not it was a good thing or if it's annoying. Right? And the whole premise of it being put in there was in listening to feedback of if you're a user who has accessibility needs, right, and you are going through it, what were we doing to help that become an easier process? To where you didn't have to have potentially, depending on your particular disability, somebody else sitting directly next to you that would allow you to go through and complete that process. So,
Hey Jason.
Yeah.
All in caps.
What?
I am watching and listening.
Uh-oh.
This is what happens when your boss is listening to you.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Discussion.
Remember the stuff that he told us not to say about that?
Just please don't say it on camera. So, not only is it something that we wanted to do to enhance that experience, but it really drives to the bigger point of one of the things that I'm sure you've seen Microsoft commercials, like the story of our commercials has changed over time because we as a company have changed over time. A lot of our commercials in the past would come on and people would be like, what did that even mean? It was literally the feedback from some of the user studies was like, cool, it says Microsoft, but I don't really know what you're trying to tell us. And then when we launched the Surface and the successors to the Surface, you saw some of the ads change, right?
Yep.
And now one of the things that we're doing in the grander scheme of things is trying to highlight some of the things that users have told us to let people know more broadly that we've listened and paid attention. And adding accessibility into the whole movie process was one of those things. And I don't know if you've listened to some of the stuff that Satya and Amy Hood, like even during our development, our earnings reports, as well as some of the marketing things that go out, not to mention just some of the generic communications, right? But accessibility is this huge thing. Right. And the interesting thing has been, not only has it helped the percentage of the population that needs those tools and that functionality, but folks who never flipped on accessibility features because it's like I'm not hard of hearing or I'm not visually impaired, things like that. All of a sudden, some of the tweaks that we've made for that, like high contrast mode or adding all this dark mode stuff, right? Because it inverts it, it makes it easier to see.
Dark mode's great.
All the
Dark mode's
exactly.
great.
It's things like that happen when you add something that is designed to help a section of users who have been underrepresented, but all of a sudden, people who never would have thought about it helping them are like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Why didn't I think of this before? Because, and it's one of the things that we've taken a bigger lesson from is, hey, we're used to doing things a certain way, right? Why do we need to change it? It just works, or it looks good this way, it's not a big deal. But all of a sudden you start listening to a subset of people that have come together, which is why upvoting and feedback is super important. It's like, oh hey, there's this thing that we need to pay attention to. You add it and change it, and all of a sudden it spawns into this bigger thing that you never saw coming. Or I should say that we never saw coming. And it keeps reaping benefits. And that's one of the, time back to what we mentioned earlier about feedback, it's one of the super important things is because it may be 10 people or 100 people reporting something when there's millions of insiders in the program. But not everybody is expressing that voice. But when you actually take the time to listen and do something, the next thing you know, it's like, oh wow. Because there's a lot of people that aren't represented in the insider program because they're scared of installing creepy bills, the thing is going to break their machine, right? There's some perceptions that we are still trying to overcome more broadly, which is why, just like you mentioned earlier, the ring concept, right? That's why those rings exist. There's some people that are like, I don't care, I know how to reformat whatever, let's go, let's do this, right? The canary ring at work.
Death ring.
There are 2 rings before it gets to fast. Let me put it like that. I am not in the canary ring. Even I have my limits.
I am on the canary ring on every device that I own.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Brandon's just
on the edge.
I have been bitten.
Yeah. What you were saying about different things for subsets of people.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I've used OneNote since day one and love it is I can put the scroll bars and everything on the left side, on the lefty. And with the top. I kept hoping I'd see that in some of this stuff on the Windows side. But it just always stays stuck over
So
there.
the thing that we like to go, one of the things Donna actually said in the chat earlier was we actually call it inclusive design. So building for one will help everyone out in the end. So
Like I think the new Xbox controller, that was so cool.
Yep.
I watched
Yeah.
the video, and it's like to see these people who enjoy gaming before they have a catastrophic accident, being able to game again. It is super impressive, and you got to know that the amount of time and money that went into developing things, it's probably not a great business case that you can make. But the fact that the company did it is very impressive.
It's important.
Yeah.
We want to enable those.
At the end of keynote of day one, there was Sasha showed a video with a bunch of ALS folks in there and that kind of stuff. I honestly believe that should be every software developer's main goal, is to be able to use their technological awesomeness to be able to make it so that everybody gets to take advantage of that technology and makes it as easy as possible for them to take advantage of that. And if you're not helping somebody else in your, we bang on Excel spreadsheets and accounting software and other stupid things, but in the back of your mind, I think every developer out there should be thinking, how can I make this better for everybody to be able to use this more easily? And I think that should be every developer.
I wrote an article just about this where I said, of all the things we do at the moment, we're getting these self-driving cars, we're getting, we can tag photographs automatically and all the rest of it. You know what we could do? We could use all that technology instead of saying facial recognition. The systems we work with, that I write, facial recognition, you walk up and it says, clock you in, I'll clock you in, and you clocked in on your time recorder. All that technology, it can recognise a face and say, okay, this guy's a terrorist, he's on the watch list, and so we know to target him. Oh, this thing here is some kind of explosive. You could forget all of that technology that you're pushing forward to. You could do one thing, you could cure blindness. Because you could take object recognition technology and you could have it so that it would talk to the person and say, just right in front of you there's a shelf at head height. And you could say, duck ahead. Because it'd be the same as me leading you along and saying, one step down, and there's another step down, and there's another step down. And even though we look at the things that we do as programmers and as operating system suppliers, or whatever you want to call yourself, or system manufacturers, we can put all that technology together. And a company like Microsoft is actually putting together some of the things where they had that girl last year, whose name unfortunately I've forgotten. She had Parkinson's disease, and they made a bracelet, if you saw that on the keynote, that it vibrates, and what it does is it counteracts her shakes. And she used to be an artist, and so she can now write again, and she couldn't write before, and that has cured or at least assisted her in overcoming those disabilities. But with things like object recognition, with Azure, the cloud recognition, all that power sitting out there, you can pull it down. We're getting to the point where we've got 5G technology, 1 gigabit connection up to the wire. That's coming soon.
Yeah, airband, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like that
Once you can do that, you can walk around, and I could be blind, and I can walk across here, and I won't bump into this table because something will either tap me on the shoulder or, encourage me to move around. So and that's what the future is. And a company like Microsoft, with the attitude that you're getting towards saying, let's engage with people, let's get these ideas. We're not just in a little island where we're saying, how much money can we make from selling Windows 10? But actually, how can we use Windows 10, quote, to make the world better? This is what Satya was saying.
I mean,
that's kind of a big deal. You guys have the infrastructure and the money to do these kind of things, and actually, be the ones that do make a difference to mankind. I know it sounds stupid,
being
but
a
it's
good
true.
corporate citizen. Right. We have a responsibility on top of just making software, and that is one of the things that I will say has been awesome to see how much Satya and the current just whole C-level leadership team have been focused on, and that whole trickle-down effect into the teams. And I know we're talking about accessibility in depth, right? But as part of both the PM design process when they're creating a feature or revamping a feature, as well as the dev code check-in process, there are accessibility reviews that happen. It is an active part of our development. It's not just an afterthought of, oh, hey, we launched this, and can people that have special needs try and do these
simple
types of
things like font scaling,
this is
where
something
you
they
can
use.
make the font scale,
Yeah,
and it still works.
It actually drives design.
Right,
It's not just an afterthought.
There are actually requirements for features. Like if it doesn't pass certain accessibility requirements, they can't ship it.
That is correct.
That's cool. I mean, And you know, people say, "Oh, you're a Microsoft fanboy or an Apple fanboy." It shouldn't be like that. It should be use the system because it does what you want it to do, and that you guys are out here evangelizing or whatever you want to use the term and saying, we want to talk to the real people. We want to get some feedback from you, and we want to make sure that inside this program actually gets some feedback that inputs into the operating system, so that becomes our operating system, as well as a bunch of designers sitting up in Seattle or something like that.
We can now, Jason and I can actually go back and we can be in meetings, and when we hear someone, although it doesn't happen, but someone question, work we're doing on inclusive design, we can actually come back and say, you know what, we spoke to insiders face to face, and they told us that our work on inclusive design is actually very important. So
I think that's why you're here.
Yes, that's exactly why we're here.
It's not a jolly. You're not coming out on a holiday to Texas. It's hot down here.
we actually, we're like ambassadors. We will go back to Microsoft, and then we will represent you guys in our company. We will be in the meetings. We will be saying, hey, that's not true. Our insiders say this, our insiders say that.
Good reason to stream it as well, because then other people, like Donna, who's on there, can see and say, hey, actually, I can see that this isn't just a sitting around and talking about how great Microsoft is. We can all kick forward with these things. But, at the end of the day, if it's a collaborative process with the insiders as well, saying, I've got some feedback on this. This didn't work.
Yep. And we try.
If there's only one person that says that, then you say, well, you need to try harder. But if there's 50,000 people that say that, then
we do got to move the needle a little bit. Where we got to get other people who are insiders to think beyond their own wants. We do have a group of people who are like, well, I don't like it this way, and it shouldn't be that way.
We're probably a weird bunch as well, because, like you say, there's mostly developers.
There's a lot of opinions and a lot of feedback. And it's just trying to bring that all together and balance it all out. That's a treat.
Yeah.
What's up?
What's up?
It's gone in a huddle. That's a bad sign.
Well, what's next?
So I actually want to talk to a few folks from the actual store.
Okay.
Have some store people.
I can move. I'll get out of the way.
No.
I'll get out of the way.
I see right here. Here, I will show you so you can see what other people are seeing before they see it. So
it's fine.
Like half out. We should rotate out around. No, I'm actually going to wait. There we go. Right here? Yeah. There you go.
Sweetness.
All right, you're on screen. So you work here at the retail store. What do you do?
I'm the learning and development specialist, so I train.
Oh, you're the trainer.
Yeah, I'm responsible for making sure these people know exactly how to represent this product and get it out to all you guys. It's pretty cool.
Why did you join Microsoft?
Like the actual
As
store?
a company, yeah. Why did you want to come work for Microsoft?
Undercover geek. Not many people know it, but actually it was after I bombed an interview at AT&T.
Thank you, AT&T, because your bad decision enabled this good decision.
Yeah, it's great. I love it, and I've been here for. I'm going on 5. This is the 4th. I'm going on 5 come next year. But yeah, after I bombed it, and quite honestly, I was big into the Surface. You know, when Surface came out, it was this magical piece of glass that wasn't an iPad. Nothing's wrong with iPads. iPads are great, but it was this magical piece of glass, right? And I remember holding it with one hand, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a computer. It's not an iPad. It's not just this ad hoc operating system that did everything. And I was like, O-M to the jizzle. I was like, this is what I need to be a part of, right? And I just was totally into it. So I spent my time, there was a kiosk. This used to be a kiosk. It's a big store now, it's a kiosk. I spent my time talking to all the people at the kiosk. I was like, I should work here, I should. And then one day it kind of happened. I'll save you the long story. And it's the coolest thing in the world to be on the forefront of not only what's next, but what's working for people and everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really dig it.
So what keeps you here?
The progress. The fact, you know what? Leadership, for one, because I love Satya. Anybody else love Satya?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. He's like,
this guy right here.
Love Satya. Who's here? Who's read Hit Refresh at all?
Yes, no, maybe so.
A few folks, okay.
If you haven't read it, get into it. It's a phenomenal book. And one big concept in there, he talks about being a learn-it-all, right? Rather than a know-it-all. Know-it-alls have no room to learn. Learn-it-alls have room to expand everywhere. And that's what the company, we talk about a growth mindset. That's what the company's doing. That's what keeps me here, right? Because it makes it to where we'll make the next best thing for everybody. Whether it be in the gaming, right, with Xbox, right, and the amazing controller we just made, right, whether it be in computing and the accessibility needs, right, with AI in the cloud, it's an everybody sort of project. I love it.
What is the next thing you want to do while you're here?
Me? And just in the company? Yeah. Me personally, so I want to...
This is a total selfish question. I'm just asking you.
No, I love it. For me,
yeah.
So I like to train, right? Yeah. So I want to move forward to corporate. I'm working on it to make sure that things that we do in the SMB, the EDU space. EDU space is blowing up, guys. If you ever heard of Microsoft Innovative Educator, it's huge. We're making it more accessible for definitely the public schools and other schools as well to have interactive, expansive experience with kids using Skype and other technologies, right? It's huge. I want to be a part of making this technology more accessible to the world and also training our people on how to make that more accessible, right? So I want to train the broader organization and reach out to these businesses and schools.
You mentioned the whole education thing, and you mentioned OneNote earlier, right?
Oh, huge.
It's little talked about story, right? And I mean, I'm not trying to blow a news moment or anything here, right? But some of the innovations and the engagement that started in the OneNote team has spawned into what has become this bigger education arena push.
Yeah.
And when a subset of a product, right, because it's a piece of the Office org, but now it's grown so big, it's kind of its own little thing now, right? I'm doing a very poor job of describing it, but they created their own little world that when you have one piece of software inside of a company that's this big, that tries something out and works, and then you see other teams adopting it. And just to the point, I mean, related to the Insider program, Windows was the first team to be like, hey, we're going to try this thing, and we're going to see it work. It's either going to work, or it's going to fail spectacularly. And it worked, right? And, I mean, the fact that y'all are sitting here almost 4 years later, still happy, still engaged, and that we still get to come out and talk to people about what's working, what's not working, either within the program or within, our, the company as a whole or the software that we're building, proves that it's still working like it was intended, even if we have more to go and more things we can do. But with the EDU, the education efforts that started in OneNote, that spilled out.
Oh, I know.
And it's more broadly spilled into Office, and Windows is. It's nice seeing this whole. Instead of the old drawing that showed Microsoft as different teams kind of pointing fingers at each other, which, now it's like the goodness of one team pours onto another. It's like filling an ice tray, right? You start on one end and it just keeps spilling over and spilling over and spilling over. And that's happening, and it doesn't really matter which organization people are in. The good ideas aren't staying siloed anymore. And it's a good cross-pollination, and it's beautiful to see that happening since some of those intra-company type barriers and those silos that used to exist have come down or continuing to come down.
So true.
Well, the success of OneNote has bled into, as Jason was saying, has bled out to sticky notes in Windows 10 today. That's part of the OneNote team. There's this new app we can actually demo it after we're done here, but there's Whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard.
Huge.
And you put that up, you can write on it like a whiteboard on any computer that has pen and touch, and then you sign in with your MSA or your EDU account, and you get that same. You carry that across, through the cloud. All that is started from OneNote. So
the thing that I found personally for me that was funny is, like I said, I've always been a big OneNote fan. Somewhere along the way, I got overwhelmed with all the education stuff. We have no children. We haven't really been involved in the education side. But it just so happens there's a professor, I think, in Alabama that has the same name I do. Somewhere along the way, I got for the longest time. That's how I saw the stuff going on.